Okay, to start with, Zoe, we've got to make the sauce. If you're going to have a good ravioli, you've got to have a really good sauce. And the part of making the sauce is the beauty of it is that you actually make the filling for the ravioli as well. Do you like that?
I like that.
What I've got here is some veal loin.
Great.
You can use Girello if you want, but veal loin's beautiful.
Okay.
You want to meat that when you cook it, it can fall apart. So loin's beautiful. Now, this thing we start with, Zoe, is salt. Because salt loves meat and meat loves salt. And what I do is turn that over there like that. Plenty of salt on there. And, of course, some pepper.
You can't help yourself, can you? It's got to have more salt.
You've got to make it tasty. Now, Zoe, can you pass me the olive oil?
Sure.
What I'm going to do is brown this off. So I've got a lovely hot pan here. I'll put some olive oil in here, and I'm going to put the meat straight in here. And you're going to hear that sizzle. Hear that? That's what you want to hear. That's the sound of love. There we go. And what I'll do is I'll just turn that over. You can see what I mean. Already it's starting to brown off a little bit, but we'll let that simmer away. Now, to make the sauce, we're going to get some onions and some garlic.
Lovely.
But we've also got some basil. I've got a full bunch of basil there. I want you to pick every single bunch of it. Now, I've got some garlic here, a good couple of cloves, and what I'm going to do is just smash them like this.
Lovely.
All the way down there like that. And what I'm going to do is split this off in the pan. So what I'll do is I'll turn this over again, and you can see it's starting to brown up now. You've got the lovely bit of golden around the outside.
Great.
And what I'll do is I'll just move the veal to the side there, and I'll put in my onion and garlic. I could take the veal out, but I want to still cook it, and there's plenty of heat here. Now here's the fun bit. I've got some anchovy. If you don't like anchovy or hairy fish, as I used to call it, you don't have to put it in. But if you put it in there, it'll fall apart, and you won't even taste it, but it'll have a great sort of flavour as well.
Foods like anchovies, all those little bones, they're actually full of calcium and glucosamine, so it's such a good way to get good fats, protein, a bit of extra, glucosamine in the diet.
There you go. Now, if you want to get some really good fats in, I'm going to add some butter. I mean, we're only using, well, it is a fair bit of butter here, but we're making a lot of
Shaking my
sauce.
head.
And what I'll do is I'll sweat that around. Now, that starts to melt with the onions, and I'm going to grab that basil.
Yeah,
now,
here we go.
A lot of people chop the basil up, but my Nonna would just put the basil in
I like that.
whole like that.
Beautiful.
And let it sweat down. And it'll stay nice and green all the way through the sauce. The onions are softening up. Now we need to add some booze. A little bit of port. Pour some of that in, about a cup of that. The port makes it nice and sweet and makes it tasty. And, of course, some red wine. I've got some, about a cup of red wine here, and then pour the tomatoes in. And I've also got some passata there as well, Zoe.
Yeah,
you pass me the blue jug there. Plenty of passata. In it goes. What I want to do is actually cover the veal so that it cooks in its liquid. See that? And you can see it seems like a lot of sauce for a small amount of veal, which is a great way of using, a little bit of meat to make a large amount of food. I'll give that a bit of a stir. Now, this will simmer away for about an hour and a half to 2.5 hours. You'll know it's cooked because you'll put your finger into the veal and it'll want to fall apart. It'll be saying to you, Zoe, I want to go into a ravioli. I'll put the lid on this and let this simmer, and then we'll get straight into the pasta. Zoe, my sauce is simmering away beautifully, and now it's time to make the pasta. What I'll do is get you to hold that, and we're going to sift the flour onto the board.
It's quite fun. Good for kids.
This is what I used to do as a kid. This is 400 grams of plain flour. Now, what I do, and this is the fun part, is make a hole in the centre. You could just see me as a little boy sitting in the kitchen with my Nonna. My job was, of course, to crack the eggs, but I've cracked these beforehand.
Somehow I think you would have been a really naughty little boy.
I don't know what you mean. There we go. Now, I've got four egg yolks in there, and I've got 3 whole eggs that I'll just pour into the middle here. But what I do is, just with a fork, you just gently move it around like this, just a little bit at a time. And what you do is you slowly take in a little bit of flour from the side.
There's something so lovely and wholesome and rustic about doing it from the ground up, every element of it.
That's right. And anything you make by your hands is always better. Salt goes in here now, and I'll get you to pass some olive oil.
Sure.
I want about a teaspoon of olive oil in here, some extra virgin olive oil in the centre there like that. That's beautiful. And I'll just stir it around. This takes a couple of minutes to mix around, just slowly taking a little bit. Now, what you don't want to do is knock the walls down. You get the damn wall break, and egg ends up all over the bench.
Everywhere.
You can see this comes together beautifully. And look at the colour of it. We're using free-range eggs, so you've got a lovely colour. Now, as we get it to the centre, we can start throwing a bit of flour into the middle of it. There we go. Look at that.
Adrian, if you were going to use something like a spelt or a wholemeal flour, you could do it exactly the same method, or would you need to prove it for a bit, or is anything different?
I've never made a pasta with spelt flour before, but I reckon you probably could. Now, what you do with this is start to knead it nice and gently like this and start to bring all that flour together. It's quite wet in the centre of here, but as you knead it like this, you pick up all the flour and all those little bits of egg there. Look at that, nice and gently. Now, the trick is to imagine that you are a little old Nana doing this very gently. You don't want to rip into it and knead it too hard harden too fast. You just want to be nice and gentle. So what I do now is just knead it a little bit. And you can see there's a little bit of flour left on the board. I can feel that this dough is really nice. I want you to feel
quite
that
firm.
It's quite firm. So what I won't do is add any of that extra flour to it. I'll just give it a little bit of a knead like this. And then all I have to do is let this rest. So I'll let this sit here like this, dust it with a little bit of flour. What we're going to do is let this sauce cook for a little bit longer, let this pasta rest, clean this down, get the machine out, and we'll be eating ravioli in no time. There we go, Zoe, look at that.
Ooh, wow, that looks amazing.
I'm going to take the meat out. You can see the sauce here is nice and thick. Look at that. The basil all the way through it. I could eat it just like that.
Nonna would be proud.
I'm sure she is. She's watching me right now. Now, what we're going to do, Zoe, is make the filling for the ravioli.
Okay.
So the meat's cooked. I've got some Parmesan cheese.
Yep.
I want you to grate the Parmesan cheese into
Sure.
there. This is a very simple filling. What I do is I just cut up the meat. What I want to do is break up all the muscle fibres, all the grains there, so it's nice and sort of pasty. You could use a Maggi mix if you want, but you can see by just cutting this, it all falls apart. It's a sort of dish you can use anything you want to cook in a sauce. It's
Beautiful.
perfect.
Lovely.
But the cheaper the cut, the longer you cook the sauce in the pot.
That was a trick I learned a long time ago.
I'm going to put some salt in there and some pepper as well.
Beautiful.
There we go.
I'll put the parsley in now.
Yeah, throw the parsley in. There we go. A little bit of pepper in there. Now, what I want you to do, Zoe, I've got a fork over there. I want you to mash it up with a fork. What I'll do is put a little bit of sauce in there to help moisten up the meat because, there we go, look at that. And that'll help to keep it nice and sort of sweet on the inside. There we go.
Gorgeous.
I'll pop that over
And the
there.
parsley and the parmesan, that smells really lovely. I mean, you can smell the saltiness of it, which I know you would love. That's probably
I've got a real fork here. What I'll do is just mix it up. And look at that. Have a little taste of that. Beautiful.
Oh, that's lovely.
Now, what I'm going to do is clean this board here because we're going to roll out the pasta dough.
Let me move this out of the way.
All out of the way. We've got our mixture here, we've got our cutter, and we've got our dough. Look at that. And I'll cut that as well.
Gorgeous.
There we go. Now I'm going to show you a little trick. Dust off a bit of flour through the middle here.
Yep.
And then what I do is with a knife, I cut it down through the centre here. All the way through like that. All the way through. And this is my special way of making ravioli. What I'll do is I'll get some of the filling here. If you grab a spoon, now you're going to put a little bit of
you show
filling.
me.
The first one, you're going to start down this end here and put a little bit of filling right there.
Okay,
And then a
lovely.
little bit of space in between and a bit more filling.
Great.
All the way along. We'll just do the first line and then I'll show you what we do next. There we go.
Beautiful. Thank
Off
you.
we go. And then what I do, Zoe, is with a bit of water, rush it along the top there.
Get a little spoonful of them.
Yeah, there we go.
One lucky last one.
And then what I do, Zoe, is I just fold it over.
Ah.
Just fold the whole thing over like that.
Little raviolis.
Tiny little ravioli.
Beautiful.
Push them all the way down.
So you sort of let your fingers sort of splay in between the ravioli.
That's all you need to do. And then you come around the other side here with this little cutter, and I want to show you this bit, Zoe. This is probably the best bit. I just cut them straight out like that.
Oh, cute. Ah. Really simple, easy. Use a, sort of standard kind of cookie cutter.
Yep, and you don't waste any pasta.
Yeah.
Have a look at that, Zoe.
Wow.
Cooked to
Beautiful.
perfection.
Little pillows of love.
It does, and when it's fresh pasta, it doesn't take very long to cook at all. I like to take it out with a spider and I put it straight into the bowl there. There we go. Now spoon some of the sauce on. You could put the ravioli in there, but I like to just spoon it straight on top there like that. There we go. A couple of nice little, probably about a half a cup of sauce on there. And then with my wooden spoon, because I want to be really gentle, I just want to mix it around just a tiny little bit there. So what I'm going to do is serve some of this up to this little bowl here. This is probably what I would consider to be a reasonable portion. Have a taste of this. This is probably one of the most special dishes in the whole world.
Wow.
That's fantastic. It's beautiful, simple flavour. Lots of cheese on it, lots of lovely stuff. What I'm going to do, Zoe, is push this to your side.
Thank you.
And I reckon I'll eat this. I think it's enough here for me.
Adrian, it's delicious. It's really, you know, a wonderful, home-cooked, loving dish. I'm going to show you how special my dish can be, and I reckon we made our Nonna and our mum proud.